Blog Talk Radio.
It seems like I got nothing to do. Hit up SimFBall Radio. I'm listening to one of the top podcasts, and they bringing you the real. And when they talk sports, it feels like you on the field. From real talk to real sports, from Madden to 2K, just listen for one day. They'll grab you and you'll say it's on the net, man. Turn off your stereo, not music. I mess with SimFBall Radio.
What's up, everybody? SimFBall Radio. We definitely welcome everybody to the show, episode 50, halfway to 100. And excuse me, let me clear my throat a little bit. But yeah, man, we've been around for a while, man. We definitely happy about that. You know, we appreciate the support, because that's the reason why we continue to do the show. It's for you guys. So, you know, number 50. So hopefully 50 more episodes from here. We'll be talking about episode 100. Excuse me. But yeah, man, I want to thank Job Turkey for the wonderful intro. And before we get started with the show, like always, we'll go around and see how everybody is doing. And we're going to go ahead and start out with Smitty. What's going on out there in Michigan, man?
Not much, man. Got this 40-degree weather going on right now. You know what I'm saying? It's 70. Yeah. It was 70 like a few days ago. So I don't know what's going on, but other than that, though, looking forward to the draft next week, you know, as well as Manny and Floyd, the well-overdue fight, you know. Hopefully it's a good one, so we'll see.
Yeah, man, we're dealing with that same weather, man. I woke up today and was like, what is going on? Like you said, like a day or two ago, it was 70 degrees. And everybody all happy, people out here wearing. One day it was 79. People got shorts and all that on. They thinking we officially summertime. And then tonight they talking about it's gonna be 32 degrees. I'm not happy about that, but what can you do, man?
Yeah.
AZ, man, let us know what's going on down in Tennessee, man. I hope y'all got better weather than we do.
We're about 60 degrees, man. It's a little chill, but much like Smitty, I'm ready for the draft. I'm tired of these smoke screens and all this kind of stuff and rumors that, we trading for old quarterbacks with back problems. And I don't know, man. I'm hoping my team makes a good decision. Next Thursday, I probably will be at the draft. Excuse my co-host, because I got my firstborn riding with me today. Be at the draft party for the Titans in the stadium. So I told Sim and Smitty, if you see somebody leaving immediately after the pick in disdain, that is me. So make sure you tune in to the draft to see, your boy AZ dissatisfied with the Titans pick if they pick something stupid. Hopefully they make a smart decision and trade back and acquire more picks and get more talent, because we need more than one player at this point. So, just ready for that, man. Tired, ready for the NFL season. I get cranked up when, of course, NBA playoff time, and Memphis is doing this thing right now, but I'm ready for football season. It always comes around to where, you get that itch. You start seeing OTAs and all that stuff coming out, and the draft, and I'm ready for football season, football weather, the hot 90-degree August. Hey, bring it on. That's what I'm ready for. So.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm a little upset about the 60-degree weather. I wish I had that here, man. It really did hurt our feelings, man. I mean, I ain't going to lie. I didn't have on shorts or anything like that. But when it hit 79, I was feeling real good about the upcoming season to be. But whatever, man. But as far as me, I feel the same way, man. I echo what you guys are saying, the draft. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. I don't know. I'm looking at a lot of these mock drafts, and the thing about the mock draft is it always seems to get shaken up somewhere. Somebody's going to do something, even alluding to what you said. I really feel like Tennessee I see that trade, man, that they're talking about with Phillip Rivers. I don't want to wish that on you. I'm telling you, man, it kind of makes a little bit of sense when you're thinking about like I don't know, man. I mean, I'll be honest though. Phillip Rivers is the type of guy. Let me see. How should I word it? He could fit at Tennessee, but my concern would be the same thing you said. You know, is he at the point where you want to risk? You know, you want to spend your money on that where he can take a shot or whatever. You know, he's a little older. I can't really say his game has broken down because he balls out at times. It just seems like for some reason San Diego can't win. So, you know, if I was a Titans fan, I can't be too opposed to it. But I agree with what Azul is saying. As long as it's not something stupid, you know, like
I mean, if they get a good deal, then it's the fact that they can mess it up and he can get hurt, and we right back with. So why not just ride with Mettenberger, give him some weapons, and let Dick LeBeau, build the kind of defense.
Exactly. See, that's what I was gonna say about Mettenberger. You got a big guy that you drafted. This is second year. Why don't you groom him up? So, what would concern me, and I'm sure you are already ahead of me with this, but if they did trade for Phillip Rivers, that would concern me a little bit because now you're telling me that you don't really know about Mettenberger. So, in reality, that was a wasted pick. I mean, I understand bringing a veteran in or what have you to help groom him. But, I mean, the man did play a couple games last year. So, if you're going to say that, I would feel like you ain't comfortable with this dude. But who knows, man? We are always great coaches from home, you know. I always say that to myself. I feel like I'm the best coach and GM in the world, but, you know, obviously I don't do it for a living. But real quick, man, Pittsburgh, they have to go secondary. You know, me and AZ talked about this earlier today. Of course, if you get a quality player that's there at 22 that ain't supposed to be, we did make the playoffs, and Azur made a good point. As a playoff team, sometimes you just take the best player if he's there. You know, look at last year. Ryan Shazier was there. He was a steal because I know for certain he's going to do good things at Pittsburgh. He had a rough little rocky, first season. He got injured a few, a little nagging injury. So it's like you can't really judge that. But when he was in the game, he did a good job. Did a great job in preseason. So I do feel like if there's a guy there that, that just has to be taken, you got to take him. But we need to get a corner. And this would be my dream scenario for any Pittsburgh fans that may be listening. I would love to have this happen. We need a corner, and I think we need some safety help. We got Shamarko Thomas. I think he's going to be a beast in certain areas. Don't really know what all he can do. Then you got Will Allen, who's a veteran. He gives you that veteran leadership. So I feel like we definitely need a nice safety to fit into that secondary. This is what I would love to happen. Landon Collins, for some reason, he falls at 22. We grab him. In the second round, there will be a cornerback there for you to pick. I really believe that. There's going to be somebody there at 2. And in the second round that we can get. So that would be the dream scenario. Other than that, I think we're probably going to get Marcus Peters. Because I was telling Azur earlier today, man, if you know Pittsburgh's history, and a lot of other teams may do this, but I follow the Steelers, so I can't speak for other teams. We always seem to draft off of our visits. Guys who have visited, before the draft, if they still there, those are the dudes we usually get. Even with Shazier last year. We brought him in. We didn't think he was going to be there. They got him. Marcus Peters is like one of the first cornerbacks who has visited the Steelers. Love the way he plays. He would be a good fit. Me personally, going to be gone. Next in line, I would like to see Jalen Collins. I would love that situation. I think he's more of a ball hawk type of corner. So, realistically, though, I think we're going to get Marcus Peters. I hope take him in the first round. If my dream scenario doesn't happen, then that's where we should go in first round. But those are just my thoughts on that. So as you can tell, guys, I know we went on a little while. I know I went on for a little while, but we're excited, man, for the draft. So next week, definitely tune in. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the draft and everything, and how we did the same way we did last year. So let's go ahead and get to these topics, man. And, I definitely see we have a lot of guys in the queue, so we want to shout you out. We appreciate all of the support. You're on the line already. You guys know the drill. When we're ready to take the phone calls, we'll have you press 1 so you can let us know that you want to speak. For any guys who are listening online, if you want to reach us, you can give us a call at 914-338-0794. And again, man, if you have any questions or thoughts or concerns, even if it has nothing to do with the topics, press 1 or pick up the phone, give us a call. So here go the topics, man. We're going to talk about the video game mentality. And this is something that, I kind of thought of during the week. Just speaking with certain people in the community, even speaking with these guys offline before, this is something that we've all discussed. We feel like there's definitely a difference between accepting realism and expecting everything to work. And there's a lot of times, even in the sim community, you'll see guys complain about a legit outcome in whatever sports game it is. So the question that we'll pose to you guys, and we'll chop it up, are you really ready for a full-blown, authentic sports game? Because things happen. And I'm telling you, I've played guys before online, or I've watched people's game, on YouTube, and some of the times they complain about certain things, and I'm like, listen, man, that really could happen. So, we want to kind of talk about the idea, not even the idea, but just the fact that we think a lot of people have a video game mentality, even though they want to be a sim type of gamer and they want sim things to happen in the game. They ain't really feeling that when it goes against them. And that's kind of like what 757 says all the time. People, do you really want that full-blown game? Because if you really want that, that Dez Bryant catch, that can happen. Or non-catch, I guess, that will happen. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Definitely want to talk about Joe Montana and in regards to the unfair expectations that we feel like the community as a whole may be putting on that game. And what we mean by that is, is it fair to a Damon Groh or Joe Montana or whoever is working on a game to put such, lofty expectations on the game and, not keeping in mind that it's a year one product? And if it's not what you thought it was going to be, are you still going to support the game? That's a big question. And then we want to kind of talk about what our expectations are for Joe Montana 16, as well as any of you guys who want to call in. And then last but not least, man, definitely going to talk about Madden. And this is a good topic. Smitty brought this to our attention, and we definitely want to chop this up. Is Madden's engine really broken? You hear people say all the time that the engine is broken and, EA needs to change it immediately. And our question would be is, do they really need to change the engine immediately to produce a quality football game? We want to talk about as well, maybe people don't really realize the difference between an engine and code or new technology, as well as, what about Madden engine is broken? We want to hear from you guys. That's a question to the callers. We'll give our opinion as well. What about the engine is actually broken? What is something that we can look at and say, that might be broken. That might be an engine problem and not just, technology or what have you. And keep in mind, we don't really know either. Like, I couldn't really tell you the main difference. I kind of know a little bit from us being able to talk to some of the devs that, and the engineers. And a lot of the things, I'll say this, just to preference that topic, a lot of the stuff that I thought was an engine problem is not an engine problem. It's code. And some of these things have actually been changed over the years since we've been there. We've physically seen things that we thought was broken, and they turned around and they changed it. Same engine. So those are the topics, guys. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it, man. We get long-winded. And I know some of you guys have said that you actually like that. You like to hear us continue to talk, but we want to keep it mindful for you guys, man. We want to give enough time for you to call in. So I'll always preference it with this. We're going to do the topics. We're going to try to be short. When we open up the calls, we want everybody to just be mindful of everyone else calling in as well. You know, don't take too much time just in case there's a night when there's 30 calls or so. I know that's wishful thinking, but, you know, we'll just keep mindful of that, both us and you guys. So it'll be equal on both sides. So, all right, Smitty, man, let's go ahead and get it started, man. What's up with this video game mentality, man? You know, we talk about this all the time. Like, what's the deal with that? You know, there's a lot of people who, you know, they really want these things to happen in the game and they want these dynamic outcomes and things like that. But if this play doesn't work, they throw in a fit. You know, is it a difference? Is there a difference between a realistic play or you having a expectation as a gamer that it's supposed to always work?
Yeah, you know, like I say, I'm going to try to be brief with the point. I'm going to try to be brief with the point. I don't want to be long-winded with it. But we're talking about this aspect of the game here, like this gaming aspect of football. The more realistic the game gets, the more complaints are going to come in. You know, that's just going to come with the territory. Because, I mean, there are things that, you know, one time I had sat on the line on Skype with a few guys in the community, and we were watching the same game. And I don't know how many things we saw that if it happened in Madden, it's automatically a flaw video. But it was literally happening in real life, like in the game. And I'm talking about you had offensive linemen standing around, lost and confused, didn't know what to do. You had defenders going in for tackles, not wrapping up as they're supposedly, you know, they're supposed to wrap at all times, as that point's been made many times over. You had tackles where the defender had the ball carrier dead to right and was straight with it. I mean, you had all kinds of things happen. I mean, remember what we had, I don't know if it was this season or last, but remember we had Andy Dalton outplay a cornerback for a catch. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you have things happen in the game that, like in real life, that if it happened in Madden first, or if it was 2K that made the game, whoever it was, if it happens in the video game first, oh man, this is a serious problem. Who's quality testing the game? How could this be possible? This shouldn't happen. Like, these are the kind of things that happen. And you got to decipher what's a football issue versus what's a game issue. Ha-ha Clinton Dix, championship game, stood there looking like a deer in headlights while he just sat by and watched my man catch that pass for the touchdown. I mean, you know, Wilson throws it off his back foot. And I mean, that was a clay pigeon chilling in the air. Now, if that play happens in Madden, it's a flaw video. It happens in real life, now what? See what I'm saying? And plus, he had 2 picks already in the game, and look what happened. He froze up when it mattered the most on a clay pigeon coming down. So these are the kind of things where you got to decipher. And once again, football is a dynamically chaotic sport, and that's part of the dynamic. It's not contained in a little bottle where it's like, well, only 2 or 3 outcomes can happen, and that's it. Like, no, that's not how it's played. You can't contain everything. So you have to have the door open for that improbability, like that X factor, like what Azura and I had debated about a while back when it came to the quarterbacking aspect. Like, it's the same kind of deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have what you typically see and what you historically see, but what about the plays that are the unknown? Like when Wayne Corbett he was held up by 3 Bear defenders, and then that 4th defender came in to lay the finishing hit, and he ended up jarring loose and running it in for 6. And that dude's 5'10", 180 pounds. He's not trucking through guys. and knock barreling through dudes getting into the end zone. So you had that instance. You had Jerome Simpson doing a somersault flip to clear a defender on purpose, not by contact, to get into the end zone. Like, you have these things happen in a sport that's chaotic like that. You see the unexpected. You always have to leave that door open, and that's why you have aspects like the physics that they have in Madden. Like, they're trying to organically give you that experience. It's not where it needs to be at this point, but they're trying to give you that. But then when you see these miscues happen in the game, yeah, there are flaws, but then you also have, well, what about in the event he does not make that stop? What about when defenders run into each other all the time in football? It happens every Sunday. You know what I'm saying? But if it happens in Madden, it's a flaw video. See what I'm saying? Like, it happens. Now, who's the judge and jury and executioner to say, well, it can only happen in this instance or that instance or that instant? These guys are on the highest level, and they're having these calamities happen. You have guys trip over their own footing, trip in open space, things of that nature. It happens. So what are you going to do about it? You know what I mean? You can make all the flaw vids you want and say, oh, it's just messed up. It shouldn't be that way, but it happens on Sunday. So what are you going to do? You know what I mean? What are the devs going to do in that regard? So, a last point I want to end it off with is I got to shout out NY Kia on this, because if I'm a consumer coming into this and I don't know anything and I go online and I look to see about Madden, and I have people on one side that are coming out saying Madden's flawed, doesn't replicate football, doesn't do nothing football, there's no football principles, or it vaguely represents the NFL and a play or two here and there. But then on the other side, I have guys, because I know NYK is not the only one, but he's the one that I know of, so I'm using him. You have a guy like him doing full 30-minute breakdowns showing you how to utilize teams based upon personnel, playing to their strength, and showing you what the zones are actually capable of doing when it comes to just running it by default, making play calling adjustments, and going online playing against cheesers in terms of how to prep to beat them using nothing but football principles in Madden. So it's a conflict there. So on one hand, you have it where it's got flaws, yes, but then it's just automatically rounded up to say, well, no football happens because it's got flaws. But on the flip side, you have football things happen. And you have somebody that's showing you, and you have people that show you based upon football principles that football actually does happen a lot more than what it's given credit for. See what I'm saying? So it's kind of like between a rock and a hard place kind of deal. But the one thing that remains certain, though, with this is that you can't use or control all 11 players. So at some point, you got to give credit where it's due as far as what's actually being done right when it comes to zone play, man defense, how defenders play the ball, how receivers go for catches, QBs, AI, running back, AI, all that stuff. It's not where it needs to be, but at the same time, we just can't shine the light on just everything that's just wrong, and act like nothing ever goes right. Because if that's the case, why is it that you have people playing beyond the fact they say that, I need to scratch a football itch? I mean, there's more to that, I believe. There's more to it than just that. But I'll go ahead and I'll pass it to Azura.
Yeah, you pretty much made all the points that need to be made. I mean, I'll touch on some other things as well, but I mean, you can't account for the unpredictable in football. And now that we've seen a company trying to do that, people want to go back to the scripted aspects of everything being beautiful. I said this on Twitter earlier. Everything can be beautiful when it's always scripted. Fluidity can be represented well when everything is scripted out. That's like, the difference between having a live show and a show that is, pre-recorded. Of course, when it's pre-recorded, you can go in, that doesn't look good. Let me take this out. Let me edit this here and do this and make this more, make this look more professional. But when it's live, how, Madden is trying to give you, of course, it's a combination of scripted and unpredictability. But when you have that combination, you have to be able to account for stuff, like Smitty said, that might happen or can happen. So, it's gotten to the point now to where people are complaining about where we wanted to go with it. Because back when it was scripted, we were saying, and we saw Backbreaker, it'd be great if Madden had physics and, you didn't know what was going to happen on any given play, and, it's always scripted and all this kind of nature. But now that we're starting to see that and people don't like the fluidity of the movement, or, I don't know, people bumping into each other after plays, or, offensive linemen, running backs bumping into offensive linemen and falling, you do realize that can happen. So the fact that we are there now and people want to revert back to scripted is just amazing to me. But, I'm glad that they're pushing forward and that they're going to continue to push the envelope and give us that organic feel, because it's not going to be truly all the way there, because you do have to have some scripted stuff just to make the game look good. If you look, we saw when it's all the way unscripted, that's Backbreaker. You don't want that. You do want some technique, some fluidity, some, stuff that makes you say, oh, wow, that looked good. And to achieve that, you need scripted sequences. But the fact of the matter is we were seeing too many of them, and they became predictable. Isn't it what you all praise 2K for, is scripted sequences? Even though, the fact that we've seen 2K overdo animations to the point to where a ball is tethered to somebody's hand. Now, don't get me wrong, Madden has its own issues as well with ball tangibility, injuries, and all that kind of stuff, to where I think 2K is ahead of them. 2K is my preferred basketball choice, but that doesn't mean I don't recognize that NBA Live has some issues, has some strong points over it. So I think in the community, when we get to the point to where we can say, hey, this is good about this, and I like this about this game, but I don't like this. A strong objectivity and unbiased review and criticism of these games will get us where we want to go. And just be glad that we have 2 titles. It's been a while since we've had 2 football titles. And the video game mentality needs to stop, because, especially in the simulation community, because we're getting to the point now to where the technology is there, so why not be happy with what's going on and back the companies who are actually putting out strong efforts and trying to get us that game, as opposed to tearing things down. Let's see what we have in Joe Montana football, hopefully, and in Madden 16. And we know Madden 16 is coming. We don't know about Joe Montana. They still obviously have some things up in the air that they need to deal with. So, I'll pass it back to Sim, but unpredictability and organic is where we want to go. Now that we're there, people want to go back to having things scripted and always predictable, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy, man. And I understand, I think to some degree, why some people say that. And, it's because they may be fed up with the physics. But at the end of the day, I'd rather see any football game continue to press on in that direction instead of giving me the scripted sequences. Because eventually, the scripted sequences are definitely going to get repetitive. And, we always say the best thing to do is to have an organic physics engine where, and you know what, I guess what I'll do is I'm going to basically combine, 2 of the topics, and then, I'll pass it to Smitty to speak on the topics as far as the engine. But I'm going to talk about the video game mentality as well as the engine problem as I explain the point here. I think one of the main things to me, well, there's a couple of things in Madden. What I would say that I feel like is an engine problem. Now, understand this, there are different engines, how many engines there are, but, let's just take the Infinity engine, for instance. That's the physics engine. To me, currently, what's broken about that is the fact that there's no physical stature that takes in any account. There's no physical stature being taken into account when the interaction happens. What I mean by that is a player's weight, his mass, his size, none of these things, his height matters currently. So to me, in my words, that would be broken at the moment, or maybe it's just not up to snuff. I want the physics there, though, because even in Madden 15, you do see physical situations, and I'm like, whoa. And I'm telling you, I've gone back and I've played older Maddens. I played 2K8. I played 2K5. There's things that I see in those games which I still, of course, we always say, great game. Wonderful football game. But there's times that I've played 2K8 in the recent past, I guess you would say, and I was like, whoa, you know what? If they had physics, that would have turned out a little different. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, I want that physical aspect, but that part of Madden's engine to me right now is broken because it just is not enough factors being taken into account to aid the physics. And the point I was about to make before I said that is the perfect combination to me would be an organic physics component that allows the physical stature to matter at all times. It's cool to have a scripted sequence, like Azur said, and guys, we do know a little bit about this now, being able to see how Madden works and things like that. You have to have, certain mocap. So, let's just put that out there. Mocap is scripted. Everybody should know that. I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything that nobody can't realize for themselves. When you do a motion capture, that's a scripted sequence. Or whatever you're capturing is like, all right, let's try this, and let it play out. Now, where the physics should come into play is the physics should be able to augment into any situation possible, any animation. Even if a scripted animation starts and somebody else comes in and the physical aspect should kick in and augment that animation. That's what should happen, and that's how you get an organic football game, in my opinion. Another thing I would say that's semi-broken. Well, I ain't even gonna say semi because I got a video probably coming tonight showcasing this again. Head tracking. The head tracking right now, to me, I just think that's a broken part of the engine. Not technology, or then again, it could be the technology. Like I said, I don't know. I'm not an engineer. But if I had to give my opinion on what a broken engine would be, I think that component of it is broken because they're not looking at the ball. Their head is just moving. And guys, I know it's a video game, but you've seen other games do it better where they at least simulate this guy looking at this ball, and you think he's looking at the ball. That doesn't really happen that often in Madden. Now, the video game mentality, just to give my piece on that, I think a lot of guys do heavily rely on things that should always work, and they don't take the football part of it into account. But here's the counter to that. I don't have a problem with things happening like that. I don't have a problem with a bobble snap. I don't have a problem with my guy tripping over someone's foot and all of that. As long as I can go into the replay and see it, and I can say, oh, man. Let's just say I'm playing Azur in a championship game or something, AFC championship, Titans versus Steelers. And somehow he comes up with this circus catch in the final hour. And we go on the replay and we both could be like, oh, that's what happened. You see, this is because he did this and he did that. And we can both agree to what happened. Fine. We lost the game. But if it's some nonsense like you guys are going to see in this video I'm posting, this was a game I just played in our league. I was winning the game. 50-something seconds left, and the Chiefs owner throws a bomb, and my two safeties go dumb. I mean, They both back there running towards the receiver, and they just nut up. Y'all gonna see it. I think I'm gonna drop that probably tonight, hopefully by 11 o'clock. Just nut up. Like, what are you doing? My opponent was like, oh man, like, what was that? And this is what I'm talking about. So to me, that to me right there is broken. They're not looking at the ball. They're not locating the ball. They're just acting out this pre-can animation. They don't have the player sense. Where's the player sense? That's what I need. Where is this player sense that was talked about at E3 2 years ago? So to bring it back to the video game mentality, then I'll throw it to Smitty so he can speak on the broken engine. My video game mentality would be if I could have looked at that play and I saw that my guy just couldn't get there, or he saw the ball, he swatted at it, he grabbed the receiver, he got called for PI, you know, a number of different outcomes. If I could see that, I'm fine with it. I lost the game. I shake his hand at the end of the game. Good game, man, and we move on. But a lot of these dudes, I noticed, you know, I watched some of these games and I played guys and they're complaining about certain things because it didn't work. Even though they're a sim gamer, that's that mentality. Now they're like, no, but this should work. No, it shouldn't. But like I said again, I hate to repeat myself, the counter is right now, Madden doesn't always offer the realism for you to be able to say, oh, that was supposed to happen. It doesn't always offer it. It does sometimes. So, Smitty, how do you feel about the engine, man? And what I want to find out from you is, you know, give your opinion on, you know, how you feel about when people say, and I think you kind of covered it a little bit. So, more so, you know, is it a difference between the engine being broken versus like new code and new technology? Or, you know, also, what exactly about Madden's engine, from you personally, do you feel is actually broken?
Well, before I get into that, it's interesting you say you have a play like that you're going to put up. I had a play. I didn't upload it, but I do have a play saved where actually the head tracking was legit. I had the safety. The safety read the quarterback's eyes. He watched the QB the whole time. He broke away from his zone, and he creeped up towards the intended target. And then when the QB literally threw it to that target that he was looking at, went ahead and broke up the play. So it's kind of a trade-off. Like sometimes
let me
it does do it right.
Was that against the computer or was that against a person?
No, that was against CPU.
Okay, because see what happened with Sim was a person, and that's why I think user input shouldn't mess up the game as well. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's issues that you see in user that you don't see against the computer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But getting to the engine bit though, we say that the engine is broke, okay? You know, it's said across the board it's broke because of how the product comes out. Now, we all know the debacle with Madden 06, okay? But Madden 07, how come when we talked about Madden, well, I wouldn't say Madden 07 per se, but how come Madden 08 was touted so greatly? It was built off the same engine that we said was broke. What ended up happening is when you have different guys put their hands on it and they're trying to implement their vision in terms of what they want to do, you have code that's being taken out. This facet's being took out. That facet's being put in. This is being taken out. This is being rewritten and augmented and rewritten and re-augmented. When you have all that go on, that's where things can truly go awry. And that's what ended up happening because what was done with Madden 08, if that kept being expanded on, if the vision if that kept going, it would have been great. You know what I'm saying? At least that's how I feel because that's the trend they were going. They were on track. But after Ortiz had left and then you had Ian Cummings, you know, we all know what happened there. 9, 10, 11, you know, straight down the toilet. Had great concepts, sounded awesome on paper, but it was the complete polar opposite of what it was supposed to perform, of how it was supposed to perform, excuse me. So of course it's going to be looked at as if the engine is broke and it's not capable and it can't be done and they need to just scrap it, et cetera, et cetera. And this all goes back to a point that I've made a long time ago. Why is it that APF is still relevant? Why is it that NFL 2K5 is still relevant to this day? It's because of consistent lead development. If you give somebody an engine and you have the same person working on that engine, implementing their vision, regardless, good, bad, happy, sad, and they get to carry out their full vision and fully implement it and put it out there to the people, it's either going to be accepted real well or it's going to be, heavily ignored and completely jeered at. That was the case with 2K, where it was fully accepted. Greg Thomas, VP of Visual Concepts, well, CEO now, but he was the lead producer over 2K from its inception all the way through. Now, from doing research about all of it, 2K has been using the same engine since they augmented it when they went to PS2 and Xbox, but unless it's noted, until I see it noted otherwise or somebody's seen an article, please correct me on this, but they've been using the same engine since PS2 and Xbox days. All they've been doing is just augmenting it for the next platform, because as you see from 2K5 to APF, they didn't take anything out. I mean, they took out, franchise mode and everything, but what I'm saying is they didn't scrap the core engine. It didn't get scrapped. Same deal with 2K basketball. They didn't scrap that either. That's why when you look at that engine, it has the Eco Motion added on. That Eco Motion to me is like adding on Ignite. It impacts certain aspects and elements of the game, but it's not what the game is built on. It's not the core engine. So from what I'm reading and from what I've seen from, multiple interviews with Greg, from what Greg Thomas has been saying, they've been using the same core engine all this time. So how come you don't see people in the 2K community screaming out, we need a brand new engine? It's because of how the vision was stayed consistent. The development consistency stayed there, and it was good, and it was well accepted. That's why Greg Popovich coaching the Spurs all the years he's been there. Like, how come he's been there all that time? How come he's had so much success? Because he's been using a winning formula. Interchanged some pieces along the way, but the formula still worked. And he had the key core components of Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili, and now you got a new piece implemented. You could call that Eco Motion and Kawhi Leonard. You know what I'm saying? And look what he brought to the table. It took him some time to develop, but you see what's happened. He ends up being an MVP of the finals the other year. So that's what I'm saying. It's the same kind of principle. When you look at Madden, Madden is like Detroit Lions. Matt Millen says a lot of great things. He could talk football for days. He's got all kinds of knowledge, but he sucked at GM. You see what I'm saying? He kept drafting bad pieces. He kept doing bad things. But because the game was selling, it was inevitable he was going to get fired, but he never got fired because they were still selling games. I mean, they were still selling games, in terms of Madden. And Lions, they were still selling out games. But as soon as the Lions started having some blackouts, we got to make some change. We got to get the right kind of personnel in here. We can't go 0-16 again and go 2-14 again. We can't have that. So that's when you start making those proper changes. But this is the problem. With that, especially when we're talking about an engine here, when we're talking about Madden, bringing it back to that aspect, you're talking about bringing in these guys that may have had success in other places, which Cam has had success with other EA franchises, but you're walking into a situation where you have all this past work that's laid out in front of you, and now you have to succeed. You have to deliver. People aren't saying, well, we're going to give you time and wait for your plan. They're expecting you to produce now. It was the same deal when Schwartz had got here. Lions went 0-16. People are expecting us to win. You see what I'm saying? They're expecting a winning season out the gate, regardless of all the backwash. You still had to make it happen. And that's the situation that these guys, Clint, Rex, all these dudes are faced with. So I can't fully agree that that these guys are not capable of making it happen on this engine at this point because of what happened when they started to have consistent development going from Madden 06 to Madden 08 with what David Ortiz had done. The only problem is these dudes can't take 2-3 years off and say, well, we're just going to work on it in the background and drop a game. They have to drop it every 9 months. They have no choice. So you have to try and work on issues and at the same time implement and innovate. You have to. So they just can't say, hey, guys, we worked on issues this year, the next Madden. Hey, guys, we worked on more legacy issues. Oh, and next year we're going to work on more bugs. Like, no, they can't do that. So that's the main point I wanted to make in regards to this, and that's why I believe that, yes, they can make it happen with this engine. I feel they can, but there are aspects of mechanics, like what Sim has said, that are broken in the game, that feel broken and don't feel where they need to be. Part of it is because of they're just playing from behind, and secondly is because of they're building the game upward, and in that process, some things aren't going to be able to be fully flushed out to where we want it to because it's part of the building process. So, I'll go ahead and pass it to AZ. AZ.
All right, AZ may be having We'll go ahead and pick up from there, man, and kind of transition into.
I'm here, my bad.
Oh, there he is. Go ahead, man.
Football is the hardest sport to replicate in a video game sense because you have so many moving parts and you have 22 players on the field. Like we've touched on this before. It's not like soccer. It's not like NBA or baseball. Football is hard to replicate, and we've seen it and talked about this before. EA has a task on their hand because you're trying to innovate all the while cleaning up issues that you've had in the past. So if you can do that, on the fly, it's kind of like running and catching up with yourself because we are privileged to know, since we get to go behind the scenes, that sometimes you can put something in and it'll break something else. And just the way the process goes, I'm pretty sure all games have this in development. You have different builds. And once you go through those different builds, once you put it all together, then you have to go back and clean up what putting all of it together might have done. And you don't know those issues until you actually do it. So, I hope Joe Montana hits on some areas that Madden, is lacking on. I said this before. I said it on Twitter earlier. I think that it will look better fluidity-wise than Madden because Madden has so much going on right now, and they're trying, like we said, to innovate and put new things while cleaning up issues that they have legacy-wise, that if a game comes in and it looks better, that'll catch your eye more so. Because I think we maybe have mentioned this, but I think Joe Montana, from me reading between the lines, supports virtual reality or Oculus Rift. So that's what you can bring to the table because it's been said that Joe Montana is bringing something to the table that's never been done in a football game before. So what could you possibly do? We've seen first-person football from 2K5, but virtual reality would bring it to a whole nother realm. And kudos to them if they actually pulled it off and did that. But as far as, what hasn't been seen, too much more that you can do, gameplay-wise, that you're hitting on that Madden's either not touching right now or will touch in the future. So for you, to be a new game, you have to hit them somewhere to where you can hurt them. And right now, I think you can do that and how it looks. We've said this before. Still picture-wise, Madden looks magnificent. But sometimes when you press X, once that ball is hiked, you have some unpredictability and you have some unpleasant looking animations that just take you out of the immersion of the game. And let's just be honest. People, how it is with 2K, they are immersed in the scriptedness of it. Let's just be honest. Their animation library is huge. We know that. And like Smitty said, that comes from building up years and years and years of development, of consistent development as well. And Madden hasn't had that. So let's give them some years to make it look a little bit better. But like I said, I hope Joe Montana comes in and hits on some issues or some areas that Madden lacks. That way, the people upstairs will say, hey, the reviews out there are saying that Joe Montana, a first-year game, looks better than Madden. And they're saying that because, the fluidity. So let's work on that this cycle. Or, let's show them who's boss. And that's where competition comes in, and it's good to see a company come out and say, what, we're going to try to push the envelope. So I hope Joe Montana pushes the envelope. But like Sim had mentioned earlier, all this silence is not good unless you're going for the NFL and the NFL is on the line. That's the only reason I can see for you to being silent this long. Because when you have no name or no brand loyalty or you're a new company, you need to be getting out in front of people as much as you can. So, we'll see, how they do it. I'll pass it to Sim, but hold on, people, because like I said, probably last year or so, it's going to be very hard to catch up with Madden in a couple of years.
That's the thing, man. I mean, that hits right into the next topic. I feel like there's some unfair expectations out there for Joe Montana, man. And to some degree, I can say that, but then again, as I think about my own point, I don't even know what some people are looking for, because it's interesting. You ask people, what are the top 10 things that need to be fixed in Madden, what you would like to see in Madden 16, and you get some people to reply, and a lot of the stuff is pretty much the same answer. A lot of us don't even have 10 things. We're just saying, if this, and that all mattered and all worked, and you add deviant interactions here, and then you do this, we got a game. So the point I'm making is the list is relatively short. And what's funny, man, is I don't know if everybody saw it. There was an article out there, and this will kind of tie into what I'm saying. There was an article on, I believe it's heavy.com, and I don't know, I wasn't even familiar with this site. It's just somebody put me on to it. And they said the top 6 things that need to be in Joe Montana football. Now, I'll read them to you, kind of paraphrase a little bit. The number one thing, they're saying it needs to be on PC. That's number one. Number 2, the game needs to be developed by a big-name studio. Well, I can kind of agree with that. I don't know if it needs to be, because in my opinion, real quick, just to veer off of that for a second, if it don't have the NFL license, I feel like it's going to be a problem anyway. That's just my opinion. I know people will dispute that, saying, oh, we don't need it. Listen, we might not, but the game as a whole needs some type of branding, or it's not going to survive. That's just using common sense. Number 3, they say it needs to be a football sim and not a blitz wannabe. The only problem I have with that is, similar to what happened when we asked about the 10 things for Madden, it's just a very vague statement. They don't go into detail. What is a sim? What does that mean? Now, we know what that means, but what are you saying? So if this is a list, I would feel like you need to give me a little more detail on that. Number 4, graphics need to be better than Madden, and it needs to run on 60 frames per second. Okay. I like that one, because, hey, again, we all out here try to say that graphics don't matter, but let's be honest. we like these new consoles and we like how beautiful they look. So if you can get both, why not have both? Number 4, tackling and the physics needs to be better than they are in Madden. Okay, I agree with that. Now, they gave a little definition, but my definition to that would be, like I said to you a little while ago, I want physics to really matter. Real physics, real gang tackling. And physics is always, an emphasis. Like, whatever you do, physics is a part of it. That's what I would like to see going forward from any of these sports titles. And number 6, they said, get the real coaching personalities in the game. Okay. So, I like some of those ideas. But at the same time, and some of you may already understand what my point is, that's only 6 things, and really, maybe one is really a legitimate gameplay issue. So, it's almost like maybe the unfair expectations are coming just directly from the sim gaming community, those guys who are putting so much weight into this game. And it kind of contradicts the whole point of the unfair expectations, because as I read that article there, it seems like with this group of people, there's not a whole lot. And that goes very closely to the point that Azur made. What else can they do outside of making the things that are already in a game like Madden or like in a game like 2K work better? The expectations I have for Joe Montana, and I'm going to say this real quick and then I'll pass it on. I like to use the term of, I want to have like over-expect and be overly surprised. I don't want to put these huge expectations on you. I want to keep it more level-headed. What I mean by that is I want to pretend that this is a first-year game. They've only had a year or so to work on it. And I want to treat it like how Backbreaker came in. Backbreaker showed us something wonderful, but there were some rough patches along the way, very rough spots in the game. They had some good stuff, though. Physics, of course, everybody knew about that, but the other thing that people missed in that game, and myself, along with these guys, and shout out to my man, Nef1, something that we realized in that game that a lot of people don't talk about. There's 2 things. The random form, which I think FIFA has that. It allows these guys to play. It's random. You don't know if they're going to be hot, cold, in between, or what. As well as the behavior AI that they had. You guys may not remember, but we had a chance to speak to these guys, when Backbreaker was being, developed, and Todd Gibbs and those guys would always say, and it was even in the trailer, they programmed behaviors in the game. So it wasn't really no scripted AI. They programmed the players to have their own mentality and personality and decipher things for themselves. Because a couple guys made some videos that showed like miscommunication between the receiver and the quarterback. That kind of stuff right there, that was golden in Backbreaker. But a lot of people didn't know that because they didn't play it. You see what I mean? So let me get back to the point real quick so I can pass it along. My expectations are I want to see a game that gets some of the core details right. Let's say the physical aspect, the movement, the player movement. Because that's something in Madden that still has a problem. The fluidity of the movement and just nice-looking animations and things like that. But I don't expect too much more because, again, it's a year-one product. Who knows? We always talk about DB and wild interactions. How do we know that stuff will make it in Joe Montana? I would like for it to. But there's a lot of elements to this game, in a football game, that we've seen from Madden and 2K Sports that we're hoping that would be in Joe Montana. That's a lot to ask. Just think about that for a minute. Think about everything that you loved in 2K. Imagine if Joe Montana has nothing to do with 2K Sports and it's just the Unreal Engine. Do you think that everything that you love from 2K will be in that game? We don't know. So that's why my expectations are low. I hope it will be somewhat of an NBA Live 14, what that was to like a Madden. Not Madden, NBA 2K14 at the time. I'm thinking it's going to be a situation like that, and I would be good with that as long as it's clean. It doesn't have to be full blown. As long as it's clean, has solid gameplay, I can see where they're going. I'm happy with that, and I will definitely support. What you got, Smitty, on that? The expectations, man. Do you think that it's harmful to them in terms of, you know, the expectation, you know, superseding what they really could really do, or do you think people are still going to support it if it's not what they think is, you know, if it doesn't turn out to be what they thought it was?
I think some people will support it, even if it's not what it claims, what it may be, because I mean there isn't anything to really claim at this point. But if this game does not uphold, you'll see some people detract, for sure. But this is one thing, and this goes with what I was looking at earlier when I was doing the research in regards to 2K, looking at information for the engine. When they talked about 2K football first coming out on Dreamcast came out September 9th, 1999. You saw reports back in February of 99 talking about Sega's got a new console. Sega's got a new football game that's on the horizon. Like, they told you what was coming. You didn't see anything yet, though. Like, they were saying, you know, there's going to be screenshots upcoming in the coming months and more information. You knew Sega. You knew who was making it. You knew what it was. And when you look at all the other releases, it's the same deal. You know what's coming. You have an idea. Look today. Look at what was leaked out. NBA 2K 16's cover shots have been leaked out today, with James Harden, KD, and Steph Curry on the cover. And Spike Lee is involved with it. So I would assume the career mode it says a Spike Lee joint, featuring a Spike Lee joint, smack dab on the cover. That's already out there. See what I'm saying? Backbreaker, like you were talking about before, Sim. They've shown trailers over time. They've shown trailers that now. First, remember, we got hit with the trailer way back when, and then they hit us with another trailer, and then every few months they hit us with another video featurette, or they had an interview with the game playing in the background, and you know you would see little snippets and stuff of gameplay. That's what you do when you're a new game, you're the new kid on the block, and ain't nobody seen nothing from you yet. That's what you got to do. Backbreaker, one of Backbreaker's key problems was the same thing with APS. You had gameplay issues, you had in-game depth problems, and you had lack of promotion. It wasn't just, well, it didn't have the license, because I feel that APS could have sold at least 1.5 million, maybe 2 million, if it had better promotion and it had franchise mode. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, when you don't showcase anything, you have people guessing, and you have people making up stuff. Like I listened to, shout out to VF and the combos that he does on Skype. I mean, you have guys on there that are making up potential gameplay aspects right now. What this means because of the headshot that you had, the headshot with the sweat dilation and the blood vessels in the eyes. What if guys could pass out from heat exhaustion? Yo, that could be a feature if you're playing in the heat. Like, see what I'm saying? Like, I mean, but see, this is the thing. I'm not mad at that. Yes, that's awesome. But what I don't like is they're being led along. Like, we're all being strung along like that. No information, no insight, no nothing. Just a beautiful looking screenshot. And that's a beautiful looking screenshot and a bunch of nice tweets. Like, I appreciate Damon. Don't get me wrong, but I even told him when he called into this show, I'm with you, but I can't be with you all the way until I get some confirmation. I need to know what this game is going to be, what platform this is going to be on. I need some raw gameplay. I need something that I can sink my teeth into. I can't sink my teeth to a screenshot. I need gameplay. I need something that's valid, that's going to validate this product. And we don't have that right now. All we have is just hopeful, optimistic guesses and hopes and dreams that this game is going to be all that and it's going to be everything. I hope it is. For the sake of all this hype, I seriously hope it is. Because if Madden comes out and it's legit, we got 2 legit games. We're going to have a real battle out there, and that's awesome. I love that. But I am very, very concerned because of the fact that there has not been anything truly unveiled. And one last thing before I throw it to Azura, just like I said last week, and I tweeted it out earlier today, the last time Microsoft had a product that was strictly to them and used Unreal technology was that Black College Football. And as Azura retweeted, and as we saw, I didn't even know the game existed from what one person had said. I'm like, that's my point. See what I'm saying? Like, I would hate for that to happen because that was a game that was given a $60 price tag along with Mortal Kombat and the Batman Arkham trilogy as well. Those games were beautiful. This game used the exact same technology, just like Gears of War does, same tech. And it epically failed. So that's what I'm saying. All I have to go by historically is that. I'm not saying Montana is going to be that, but if we're going to go off what I can actually grasp onto, that's all I got right now. So this is why we were saying earlier on Twitter a little bit that they need to produce something. They need to show us something because you're new. There is no Joe Montana 15 on the scene that we can reference to and say, oh, well, we at least got that. No, we have nothing. So you need to show something to it. So that's how I feel about it, but I'll pass it to Azura.
I think that the community is just ramping up expectations, like Sim said, unrealistic expectations due to no information. If we had some information to go on, maybe then people would calm down. But right now you're building to a point to where people are starting to find out about the game, and not only that, they're starting to make up your features, and their expectations are growing by the minute. Now, you're still safe because the masses have not gotten a hold to it. To me, it's just a sim football community, which, could or could not consist of 1,000, anywhere to 5,000 people. But, you have people building up expectations for a game that may or may not have NFL licensing. And if it doesn't, then how are you going to reach the masses? So why, get into this point of hysteria and not have anything to put in concrete when all that does is hurt you in the long run? Because if you can come – I've been reading between the lines, and I figured out that the game has or supports virtual reality. It has a franchise mode, supposedly deep. Much more than that, I don't know. We've seen motion capture of Joe Montana. That's all we've seen is moving parts of this game. And I retweeted gameplay from, the Black College Football Experience, the last football game we've seen on the Unreal Engine. And it was on Unreal 3, and this is on Unreal 4. So, if you want to go to my Twitter feed and check that out, it's there for you to see. But unrealistic expectations, and that only sets up the game for failure. And you'll see people, like Smitty said, start to detract and retract statements that they said now, because right now they're hyping up, it's the Madden killer. I can't wait for Joe Montana to come out. There's not going to be any reason for me to play Madden 16. And you hadn't even seen Madden 16 yet. So you're getting up and setting yourself up to not only not play Madden 16, which you probably will anyway, because we go through this whole cycle of people saying they're not going to support EA and Madden, then they get their football itch, and they end up scratching it with Madden, and then somewhere down the line they regret that they do, probably when they lose against somebody online. which is why you have to play with like-minded people, because if you play NBA 2K online, that game can turn you off because it's not about the game. You know, there you have a game with what people consider more realistic movements, more realistic sim gameplay. But if you play it online, you can play against individuals who will make you just want to throw your console out the window. So, you know, that's why we say find your fishbowl and swim in it. Find like-minded individuals and play with them, because no matter what the game is, you're going to run into people who play the game in a cheesy way. And truth be told, even sim games. To me, Battlefield is a more sim-type shooter than you got Call of Duty. But as sim can tell you, there's people who play Battlefield that still spawn camp and do all this other kind of, you know, nonsense that makes you like, yo, why am I even playing this? So, you know, you're building up unrealistic expectations, and like we said, if it does not live up to what it is, people are going to say, oh, well, it's just their first year. We can't expect them to beat Madden in their first year. But 3-4 months prior, it was all that technology they have is so advanced, and, you know, they probably going to come out the gate doing this better than Madden and doing that better than Madden. And these same people, if it comes out and it's not up to standard, will be saying, you can't expect them to do this, and, you know, natural motion, and trust me, you'll see excuses flying all over the place. That's why I say just sit back, wait and see what they have, and then play both games. Support it. If it's if this is not a mobile game, because we've just heard it confirmed for PC. So if it is a console game and there's multiple platforms, to which we think is just going to be Xbox One and Microsoft, then support it. Support both games, because in all honesty, they're competing against one another. And if you find one to be better, play that one more. And not only that, put it up on YouTube on why you enjoy this one more, the positives in that game. Because those individuals who claim they don't play Madden, they can have Joe Montana. There's no reason for them to play Madden this year, correct? So we'll see individuals who will say they're not going to buy Madden, they're just going to support Joe Montana. Then when Joe Montana is not the fix that they're looking for, they're going to go to Madden and then just complain about something in Madden. So watch what I say. It's going to happen. 4 and 5 months from now, you're going to see that happen, depending on when Joe Montana drops. We'll see, you know, people backtracking, and then you'll see individuals who claim they're not going to support Madden, end up buying Madden just to complain about it. So, you know, I'll pass it to Sam and, you know, see what he thinks on it.
Yeah, you know, man, that's how it is. That's how it always goes, and I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. But, you know, the last thing I will say before we go ahead and open up the call queue, it's funny, not only does the expectation, you know, hurt those who are making the game, I find it funny that it's actually going to hurt individuals, because it's going to be, just like Azula just said, it's going to be a lot of backtracking. Like, I think we all can agree on this point. How can we all not agree that there needs to be information? It cracks me up the people that actually battle me on that. And I'm not saying I'm right, but how could you not want to hear information even if you're in full support? How could you possibly just say, oh, we just going to wait on E3? Do we not all every single year be upset if we ain't heard no Madden news before E3? And on top of that, I had a guy today on Twitter. He's telling me that I'm being biased, I guess, because he gonna hit me with the we ain't seen nothing on Madden. Bruh, you can't be serious. First of all, Madden has been out for several years, and we know Madden is coming. That ain't no mystery. Second, they already told us that they're going to be giving information come May. They at least have said that. Montana ain't even telling us when it's coming. So that just proves exactly. That just proves the point right there that some of us out here. I'm gonna say us. I'm gonna stop saying you because I know I'm not doing it, but I'm gonna say us because we're a community. Some of us are getting way too clouded. How can you even make that argument, homie? We ain't heard nothing from Madden. Are you seriously? So you gonna tell me that I'm beating up on Joe Montana, but I ain't giving Madden the same criticism when we know every single year Madden drops news usually late April or mid-May. Every single year.
And we have a release date for August 24th or 25th.
25th.
Exactly. But now all of a sudden I'm picking on Joe Montana. That's what I'm saying. That kind of cloudy, bruh, if that game ain't what you think it is, we're going to see what you say then. We've talked too much. We got 43 minutes left in the show. So let's go ahead and get to these calls, man. We definitely got some guys who have been in on the queue, so I'm looking forward to that. We have 4 calls outside of 757 who we're going to bring in. And it looks like the order is 407 337 205 and then 404 after that. All right, so now let's go ahead and get 757 in, man. You know, we always love to hear his perspective and his opinion on things, and then we'll open it up for the callers. What's going on, man? How you doing tonight?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What's that?
I mean, the date is coming, right? Madden is around the corner. We ain't got much time before we see the game. What people got to understand, first of all, about football is organized chaos. It's a bunch of 11 on 11 guys running into each other, and a lot of different factors can happen based on what different play is called or situation presents itself. Whether it's an offensive lineman pulling, a corner blitzing against a DB, and just being quick and faster than him, and the lineman not being able to get his hands on him. A big back versus a small back, a little receiver like Brown in Pittsburgh, who's one of the smaller receivers, but he plays on the outside, where most guys at his side plays inside. There's so many factors that take place in the course of a football game, and I feel for Madden in some instances because they have to bring organization to an unorthodox situation, which is a human being. It's too many variables that can take place in the course of play to play, down by down. The thing that I want to see kind of balance out is when is it physics and when is it based on attributes? All right, if we're using everything based on this, then at what point does the awareness, play rec, and all those things kick in? I'm in a connected franchise. I'm one of the co-commissioners in there, and one of the other commissioners, he never touches his awareness on his players. All he does is play rec, and all of those players play out their mind. He does not touch their awareness doesn't touch it at all. All he does is boost their play rec up. And nothing about his players that he's using appears to change. I want Madden to put some definition and some signatures on different kinds of players, different sizes of players, offense, defense. I know they're saying this thing about aerial assault. I get it. But what about the trench warfare for me to even be allowed to be able to get that ball off? Me being able to make sure that my line is where the blitz is coming, me able to keep a back end, and can I pick up that blitz in order to create an air assault? I don't think nothing's wrong with the engine. Rex always says something, and he's very brutally honest, and he said it the last time he was on the show, that we've made some mistakes. I think people got to understand when you come out with a new engine, it's like you getting a new computer and getting a new Windows. You don't know what it can do until you either read the tutorial of what does what or you play with it. And those things take time for you to master whatever it is that you're trying to use on that computer and in that system. My thing is, all right, are you bringing people in that understand what this technology does? And if something is broken or continues to break, do you understand why? If there is no doubt that Madden is better than what it was. It's improved. And 15 is probably one of the better Maddens that we've played in a long time. But in this full development cycle, I keep saying they have to have this has to be the turnkey game for them. This has to be the game where we can kind of start seeing this thing all come together, where momentum matters, awareness and play rec matters. It's strategic. It's organized chaos. And have you guys replicated that organized chaos? Have you understood what on that checklist that the community feels like needs to be fixed? And have you fixed it? It'll be great having this aerial assault and having these great receivers, this great quarterback I've drafted in the first round. You understand me? And we just doing it big. But if I have an all-pro safety, does he play the middle of the field like he's supposed to? If I send him to the deep third on the left or to the right side to play over the top of Calvin Johnson because he's killing my corner, does he do it? If I send my linebackers to the purple or I need them to go to the flats, is he chopping his feet and looking around, or is he carrying his butt right now? Because I know on 3rd and 1, you always throw it to that back out the backfield. And it should either be a tackle for a loss on defense. Yeah, I want to score points on you, but I want to frustrate the hell out of you with some of those different coverages that I run. And you swear that linebacker wasn't there when I ran that buff blitz. You swore you thought he came, and he went out. That's what I want from Madden. I ain't even commenting on Joe Montana because I don't know nothing about it. We done seen this before. We've seen it from Backbreaker. We've seen it from other games. We'll start talking about you when we see what needs to be seen. Until then, we ain't got no words, man. I don't care about logos, non-logos, what gameplay is supposed to be, what the engine is supposed to be. Until I see that car drive, man, stop talking me to death. Stop talking me to death. I want replication of football. Let me get that organized chaos. Let me get those tools. Now, understand, community, this is my message that I always preach. We can't fuss about innovation without understanding that there's going to be a little bit of change on that button system. We can't fuss about that. We got to get ready for that. We got a 3-button push in order for an animation to kick in. Or might have to click a few more buttons to make sure that safety plays that coverage like you want them to do. And you got to be willing to learn it. I don't understand how golf is such a great game. And if you use the wrong club and I understand exactly why. And then you throw into double coverage and don't realize that the linebacker's sitting there and the corner's sitting there and you read the defense wrong. It was a bad throw. Figure it out. And then you want to bitch, this is bro. No, you threw in a bad coverage. You don't get rewarded for bad behavior. And Madden's done that too long. We've rewarded bad behavior. We've allowed it to be arcadish and allowed guys to put players outside and trick the AI. Man, we want football, man. Stop with that. Give us a football game. Let us play the game of football in the manner that it is, and that's chess. And once you figure it out and understand it, then you'll become a better player. But no more of that plug and play and putting the game in, not having to lab, not having to do anything, and still win games. I got it. Anybody that you play, like one of us in the Sim standing community who understand the game of football, we should frustrate the hell out of you. we should beat you to 40 to nothing. Not because we're just the best player in the world, but we understand our strengths and our weaknesses of our team, and we do our best not to put that team in a bad position. That's football. Not to get us out of our game plan. That's why teams lose the game, because you get them out of their game plan, and they got to start doing some stuff that they don't like to do. Fellas, I appreciate your time. I know it's a little long-winded, but the game is coming, and I know man should give us a little something special, but I don't want the community to start fussing about what those special things are and not wanting to learn a new system, not wanting to really learn the concept and understand how the game of football is truly played with the mind. It's from the neck up. Guys, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Always thank you for that perspective, man. Listen, I try to tell y'all every week, listen to what he's talking about. Just listen to him, what he's telling you. If you listen to him, he gets it. Same way NYKia does. Like, sometimes it baffles me how people can't grab it the way these dudes grab it. He says a lot of stuff in there. I'm going to leave it at that, man. Let's go ahead and move on. You guys know the routine, man. We'll grab the calls. First caller is 407. Smitty will give you your reply. The next caller will be 337. Azure Effect will reply. And then 205, I will reply. And then repeating the cycle with 404 and so on and so on. All right, so sorry for the wait, guys, but we have about 33 minutes. So, again, be mindful of everyone's time. But we're definitely glad that you all have called. So let's go ahead and get it started. 407, we got you on live first. What's going on, man?
Hey, guys, what's up?
Oh, what up?
Yeah, man.
I just got finished playing Commish. Sorry, Commish, that your Titans had to go down like that, man, but, you know,
it happens.
It is what it is.
It happens in the NFL, so people can't be upset, you know, when something happens. I had a bad game. I lost. That's it.
Yeah, that'll happen. It happens to me. It happens to everybody. But, you know, I kind of want to touch on that as far as what you guys are talking about as far as, you know, perfect football syndrome. We all suffer from that. I do it a lot, more than I think I would like to. Because, you know, when you're playing a game against somebody, you want to win. And when you think that you have something dialed up that you think is going to work and it doesn't, you're going to act out sometimes. That's just human nature and just being competitive. And, you know, as far as how the game plays and the perception of it being broken, I think the word broken is one of those buzzwords that the community has latched onto over the years. It gets kind of overused. You guys remember NBA Elite?
Yeah.
That was a broken game. Nothing in that game worked. You know, in Madden, a lot of the tools and a lot of the game mechanics that they give us, they work the way that they were advertised to work. You know, Smitty, thanks for the plug there. I do videos on that all the time. And when people are skeptical about it, I invite them to watch and listen. They never do, but I always do. And the tools are there to make what you want to have happen. When I'm playing and doing a live stream and you hear all this clicking going on between plays and, you know, between snaps, I'm slide protecting, I'm hot routing, I'm adjusting zone coverage depth, I'm protecting the sticks, I'm shading, I'm doing all kinds of stuff. It works. The problem here, in my opinion, is the Infinity Engine. What they're doing with that has to be a lot better than what they've been previously putting out there. The problem is that once things get in motion and the bodies start clumping together, you get a lot of wonky outcomes that make you think that what is happening is less realistic than it really is. Like in our game today, I'm running with Denard Robinson, and I spun off a tackle in the backfield and ran right through Azure's user defensive tackle. And he just kind of mushed together and created, tangle of bodies. It's those kind of interactions that is really holding up the game as far as being a game that convinces you or kind of dupes you into thinking that it's less scripted than it is. All these games are scripted. You know, when I play MLB The Show and I'm trying to, time my swing with the pitch and, trying to place the ball or, pull it to left field, drive it to right, hit it the middle. There's a lot of things going on that are determining whether or not I'm going to be successful. But the game does a great job of making me feel like I'm in control of what's happening. And that's where I feel the Infinity Engine causes problems. It causes problems the way the players move and interact, which makes you think that the game is not playing out the way it should when usually the right thing does happen. So that's my take on that part of it. As far as Joe Montana 16, I hope it's the game that the people that are supporting it want it to be. Honestly, I don't know where they're basing the optimism from. I mean, all we literally have are 2 screenshots and an Operation Sports post. That's literally it, And I just don't want those people who want to have an alternative to Madden to get themselves so hyped up that they set the game up for disappointment out of the box. The odds of it being on a, APF or NFL 2K level are pretty slim. I think the NBA Live comparison is a good one. NBA Live is a playable game. It's a fun game. It's not as good as NBA 2K, but it's a viable, playable alternative. That's what I feel like the game's going to be, realistically. So that's all I got to say about that, and I'll just chill and listen to what you guys say. Take care. Peace.
Yo, thanks a lot, man, for calling in to the show. You know what I'm saying? And once again, guys, definitely check out his videos. I mean, he tells you to use the tools in the game. The tools are there. To use your personnel, adjusting personnel, and making the proper reads and things of that nature. Using the skills trainer, even recommending that. Use the tools in the game so in that way, use those tools, go and practice with the teams, lab and everything, and then go online. And he's not talking about lab in terms of cheesing the game. He's talking about labbing in terms of see what works with the defensive scheme, see what works with the offensive schemes. He gives you what he would use, but at the same time, it's like take that same principle and use it for yourself. Same rule applies with any of these games. Any genre, any of these sports. Same thing applies. Use your personnel. Use and scheme to your advantage. Utilizing the team according to how that team would play in real life. And that's why you gotta like the guy said earlier, you gotta play with like-minded people. That's a must. Because if you don't play with like-minded people, of course you're gonna see all kinds of cheesy stuff online. That's what people are going to do in general. The same thing is going to happen with this Montana. So, that game, get ready to see that game get cheesed as well because it's going to get exploited. That's a promise. It's going to happen. That's a surefire guarantee. So, but thanks again, Kia, for calling. We'll go next.
Yeah, man, we always thank you for calling. And like I said, shedding light on something that all of us in this community should be able to see if we just look at it from an open mind perspective. And that's all we try to do here on the show. And as, Sim community leaders, as you guys have appointed us as, so what we try to do is always keep an open mind. And there it is. So let's go ahead and get 337 on the line. What's going on tonight, man? How you doing?
How's it going?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on a few bases. It's going to be real short. I like what Sim said about being under-expected of Joe Montana, but overly surprised when it comes out. I think that's the mindset you have to go in with any new game that's coming out, especially when you had failures in the past of similar types of games trying to come out. And the other thing is I'm skeptical about the Joe Montana, and it's another reason why I didn't play Backbreaker that often. I played the demo, and it was the controller configuration. I know 757 was talking about you gotta learn the buttons, and I understand that, but the controls of Backbreaker was just so really hideous. It was very not user friendly. I mean, even if you wanted to do what 757 said, you had to study on that for a while. Now, one thing I will say is NBA 2K, it's difficult. It was difficult to learn that at first, but then when they kept it the same for several years, and you kind of get used to it, in a short amount of time. And so I think that way is good, but backbreaker was just too hard, and that's all I want to say. And one thing, John Madden, Madden football, the controllers are user friendly, so that's all I want to say. You can tell me what you think about that.
Appreciate the call, 337, another one of our Sim Standard Radio faithful. And I think, honestly, that's one of the things that Madden has almost perfect is control of configuration. I mean, I think even if I'm a new game, I would try to, Joe Montana, I would try to mimic what they have, because not only is it going to help you, but you'll have individuals coming over from Madden and say, hey, the control scheme is similar to Madden's. I can play this, it's not that much of a learning curve, because like you said, with backbreaker, some people were turned off with that and the camera as well. So, just to try to keep it short, I think the control, like you said, is a strong point for Madden. And as far as a new game, under-expect and be over-surprised. And that's the mentality that you have to take, especially with a company that we don't know about at all. I can see if it was 2K, then we could expect their engine, but we don't know what to expect from Unreal 4. So I'll keep it short and move on to the next call.
Absolutely, man. I know me and Smitty both echo what Azua just said. I can't say it any better than that. And 337, like always, we thank you for the call, man. But now let's go ahead and get 205 in. Got you in live, 205, man. What's going on tonight?
How y'all guys?
What's up, man?
Good,
What's up, man?
Pretty good. Just to talk a little bit about Madden and Joe Montana. I want to talk about Madden first. And I have an idea, and I just kind of want to shoot it by y'all guys and see what y'all think. I know that the developers was talking at one time that, it's kind of hard to get things past the suits, and there's certain things like we've always wanted like a sim mode, and nobody's, seen the sim mode, or, nobody gave us one for Madden. The closest thing we ever got was like where you had to have fair play online. What about something like where they put like a little feature in called SimLock, where like you turn it on and it's a sim, and when you play, it stays that way. You save it into your file, like when you save like your profile or whatever, your saves, and then it's saved like that. And then when you go online, it automatically takes you to somebody who's playing simulation. There's no way that, if it's online, it automatically passes everybody else that's not playing simulation, and you're kind of forced to play with people that play simulation. And then you don't have to go through all that stuff. And also, there's also an old saying that sometimes it's better to just go ahead and do something and then ask for an apology later than go ahead and ask it and then trying to get it passed. As far as Joe Montana goes, like I said before, I don't know what to think about it, because we don't know anything about it. And I've watched a lot of these videos with VF in it and some of these panels he's had with people, but it's just guesses and ideas. It's really not anything concrete or anything that we even heard. That's just kind of how I feel. That's just kind of my little thoughts about that. I just wanted to pass that by y'all and see what y'all thought. Y'all have a great night.
Yeah, you too, man. And we definitely appreciate you calling, as always. And, I'll be real brief on that. I agree with that idea. I love that idea. That's something that, I know if Shopmaster is listening, Shop is probably laughing right now. That's something that, I know him and I, and, even the guys here, of course, we always talk about, fair play and all of that coming back. Having some type of feature where at least, mainly community. That's been the biggest thing for the last year. So we've been asking, why is community not there? And believe it or not, I don't think I'm overstepping any boundary by saying this, but believe it or not, man, and I think you guys are smart enough to figure this out. A lot of stuff that we've learned since going down there, we find out that some things, it's all about, utilization and usage. And, every single game has something that may have been taken out or is no longer there. I mean, look at NBA 2K. Crew got taken out. Now, and I've heard similar rumblings about that. It comes down to, statistics. Maybe people didn't really use communities like that. You understand what I'm saying? So maybe that's the reason why that's not there. We've heard these types of things. So, but overall, just to say this real quick, I think they need to definitely do what Tiger did and what we're now seeing that PGA Tour is doing. This is another idea I'm constantly throwing at them. And I know it's hard to change Madden because everyone's mentality is all Madden, all Madden, all Madden. They think that's the elite level to play on. I think they need to take an approach like NHL or like PGA Tour. But I love NHL's way of doing it. They have I'm not going to get this right, but basically they have rookie, pro, and then simulation. But then above simulation is hardcore. And it actually says hardcore is the most realistic setting. Now, borrowing from I'm twisting my words here. Borrowing from PGA Tour, I just read where they have a tour mode, and tour is the closest to the realest thing. So maybe Madden could do something like, rookie, pro, all Madden, NFL, or league, or whatever. And if you play on NFL, that's what you're getting. It's going to be the closest representation, AI-wise, everything matters, weather, all of this stuff, the closest representation of football. And that's the idea that we're pushing to the guys. And, hopefully that's one of the things that gets picked up. But again, man, thank you for your call. We're going to go ahead and move on to 404. So far, that looks like the last call. Let me say this again real quick. We have about 17 minutes, so if anybody else is listening, you want to press 1, you have a quick question or a comment, we'll get you in. If you're online listening, if you want to give us a call, you can reach us at 914-338-0794. All right, so next up, 404, man. How you doing tonight?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Hey, what's up?
Just some points on the whole engine talk. And what Azura said about people wanting predictable football. I think to an extent that's correct, but at the same time, football is fairly predictable 90% of the time. You can use statistics to find out what's going to happen. In certain play with certain players. I mean, there's always going to be those dynamic areas, but football is fairly predictable. When you line people up. You always where your key players are. How your quarterback, what his awareness is. But for the most part, football is fairly predictable. And I don't think people want a predictable game. They just want a predictable. They want football to actually be represented the way that they see it represented on a regular basis. There's going to be those outliers, but for the most part, you want to see what you see on Sunday to be, represented, properly on a regular basis. There's always going to be the outliers, but proper representation is always good. As far as
let me interject real quick. I just want to say this real quick and maybe give you an opportunity to expand on it. I don't know if I think I know what you're trying to say, but I don't know if predictable is the word, because in my opinion, I mean, even just from playing football, we come out in a set, but we don't know what's going to happen. And I think Azul was talking about just on field. You know what I mean? Like the outcome. You might run a dive 6 times in a row and you get a different outcome in real football. So I don't know if predictable is the word that we should be using right there.
I mean, I understand that, but I'm just talking about if you do run that dive and you have a base defense in front of you, and one side has less players than the other, you're gonna run. There's an audible to that side because that's the best chance to get yardage. So I mean, if you have a 8-man in the box and you running a post route with one safety up top, if the quarterback, a good quarterback is going to keep the safety, in the middle so he can complete the pass. There's predictable things that do happen, I think, in a football game when you're playing football, especially, as far as your knowledge of the game, as far as being a seasoned pro, let's say, there's certain things that you see all the time that you can take advantage of. So I think at those points it does become predictable. Now, there's always, like I said, there's always going to be those things that just happen. Tip balls. Back down at the line of scrimmage, your player trips. There's always those things that happen. But for the most part, a lot of football, you can, break down a tape and determine what you want to do with a certain defensive set or offensive set. So predictable might be a wrong does.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Say that again. I see what you mean. I see your point now.
Okay, but also with the whole engine talk, I think 2K, if they are still using the same engine, that's more of a credit to the engine and not, necessarily the developers. They had a big part in it, but they had an engine and the tools to actually make something over, a decade or over a decade, where they've been able to use the same engine. So that's a big credit to the engine that they chose to run their all their systems and all their games. I don't think Madden has that with the Infinity engine or whatever engine they're using and putting over top of it. And I think these developers, let's say with an engine like Backbreaker, with the knowledge that they have, I think they will make an excellent game. But as of right now, Madden, it still has a lot of issues. Like people said it's broken. I don't think it's broken because you can't, like I said last week, you can't play football in a football manner on Madden. But it's extremely inconsistent. And things happen that shouldn't necessarily happen. Like we were talking, like just as far as predictability, there are things there are crazy things that happen during a football game, but you see it multiple times in a Madden game. Like you were talking about how Clinton Dinks was, had the ball dead to rights and he just stood there. He's not going to do that all the time. You probably won't ever see him do that again. So, but in Madden, you can see that 2-3 times in one game, where safeties just don't react. And then sometimes they hyper-react. Like sometimes you just never know how the game is going to react to certain plays, even though it's supposed to react in a predictable manner. So, as far as just the engine goes, we talk about how Joe Montana, if it does come out and it's not what everybody thinks it's going to be, everybody's going to start making excuses. But at the same time, on the show just the last couple of weeks, you talk about how Madden has been on a half development cycle, and this is going to be their first full development cycle. Like it's kind of like making excuses for them now, as far as why their game isn't where it's supposed to be, because they haven't had a full development cycle. It's like making excuses for them now.
But you know what, dude? Real quick, man, and I know Azul and Smitty want to chime in as well. We got about 12 minutes, but let me say this on my behalf. I think a lot of times some of you guys misinterpret the truth that we tell you for an excuse. We've done nothing but tell you exactly what's happening with Madden. An excuse would be if I was saying all of these things and I'm saying, no, man, give him a chance. We never do that. So the way it's perceived, I can't help with that. But I think we are very upfront in saying exactly what we mean. I can't really follow you when you're saying that's like an excuse. We're just telling you the facts, which we don't have to tell you. You know what I mean? Like, nobody tells us, hey, go let them know this. They probably would prefer we didn't tell you that, to be honest. Those are just the facts. 757 said it as well. Like I said, he's able to understand that because we all know how gaming works. We knew the first one wasn't a full cycle, which means the second one wasn't as well because they didn't get started on it until after November. So this is just common knowledge.
Yeah, it's not a knock on you. It's not a knock. It's just I'm just saying. With the whole Joe Montana was talking the entire time about the game the first try around. But then I'm hearing about at the same time, the engine is pretty. The things in this that I saw in previous years, Madden 08.
I'm not sure what happened there. 404, you were going in and out. So I went ahead and muted you temporarily. But I understand what you're saying, and definitely I know you're not saying that directly at us, but I'm just saying, basically when we say stuff like that, We're just trying to educate. Because, we sit here and say ourselves, there's no more excuses. I'm going to say it again right now before I throw it to Smitty and Azure. Madden 16 needs to be the turnkey game. I don't want to hear certain things that I'm looking for. I don't want to hear no more that you couldn't do it. I don't want to hear that. So we're right there with you. But a lot of the stuff that we tell you are facts. We just try to tell you the facts. Well, go ahead, Smitty.
Yeah, no, this is like the example, like I had brought up, I think it was last week, when I had brought up my father and I was talking about the situation when dealing with cancer. The doctor told us something. It wasn't what we wanted to hear, but that was the fact of the matter. That was it. It's the same deal when we go to EA, come back and make this point. We understand it's commonplace accepted in this community that if you say anything along the lines of, well, it's a shortened cycle, that's taken as a quote-unquote excuse. It's not an excuse. That's the actual reality of the situation, like Sim just said. You had to make a game for the launch of the console. The consoles were launched, in November? So you were building a game for that point. And then on top of that, you had to make the next game for the following year that came out in August. So you're working with the shortened dev cycle. So you had 2 shortened dev cycles back to back. That's you just look at the calendar timing, and then the logic is there from that standpoint. But I understand that it's being said that, these were shortened cycles and now it's a full cycle. No, it's the reality of the situation. It's not an excuse, even though many may interpret it and say it as such. It's not an excuse. That's what it is. And with Montana, there's no passes on it because we said this back on Sim Standard back in 2011. Whoever makes a game, there is no pass. You see what I'm saying? Now, we're not going to thrash the game and tear the new one, but I'm saying we're going to be realistically critical about it. So we understand it's a first game and all that stuff, but at the same time, we're going to be realistic with critiquing it too. We're not just going to say, well, because it's the first game, it's okay, it has all these problems. No, it's not okay. It's never okay for anybody. I wouldn't buy a car and if it breaks down on me day one, it's okay because, no, it's never okay. So it's not okay in any facet. We're just going to be realistic and we're going to be respectful with how we come across with it, but we're going to break it down accordingly. So, but Azura, go ahead. If you have anything to say, go ahead, man.
All right, well, my point, good call, man. We always appreciate you supporting the show and calling in and having your own viewpoints. And we, respect, even if we don't agree, we respect your opinion and the fact for you to share it as well. But what I was saying was more so along the scripted lines. But I'm saying scripted, I'm not saying predictable outcomes, but more so of everything being so much so that you can say, all right, like there's an animation in Madden right now, Madden 15, to where if you throw like a short pass and the wide receiver catches it, the DB's on his back, but the ball comes out and it's like an incomplete pass. Now, I've seen like maybe if you have an elite receiver, he might hold on to it all the way to the ground. But most of the times, probably 9 out of 10 times, he drops it just because that's the animation. I'm talking about animations and those being scripted. Like people want to go back to that as opposed to what we have now, which is unpredictability and more so leans itself more to football. What you're saying kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying of, true enough, there are some things that are predictable in football that you say, you know what, the right side of his line is weak. I'm going to flip and put J.J. Watt over there, and J.J. Watt 7 out of 10 times or 9 out of 10 times is going to create some havoc. Those kind of things are predictable. And I think that you can do that in Madden. But I'm saying scripted animations. People want to go back to scripted football play as opposed to what we're starting to get now is more unpredictability. Because, like we said at the beginning of the show, you'll see something happen in Madden, and you say, that shouldn't be able to happen. But if it happens in real life, then what can you say about it? Think about the throw that Russell Wilson made in the NFC Championship game against the Packers. That happens in Madden is BS. But it happens in real life, and what can you say about it? So, we're getting to a point now to where I think, like I said, Joe Montana or any other football game that comes out or pops up, if it looks better and is more scripted and looks more fluid, because the only way you can get fluidity is through scripting animations, that people will be more enticed to say, oh, well, this looks good. Because right now where Madden's going, you have some ugly stuff that needs cleaning up, and it won't look as good. And that's what people are, harping on now with how it looks visually. But I wasn't saying that things aren't predictable in football because, like I said, you have some situations where you can predict, hey, if Aaron Rodgers sees this defense, he's going to go 9 out of 10, So there are things that are predictable that, offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators who look at film can pick out instantaneously. But I'm speaking on terms of, unfortunately, video games and people are wanting to go back to where everything looks better because it's all the way scripted. So that's what I was saying.
And just think, I just want people to just think, if APF had those kind of physics like you see in Madden right now, think of how many ugly-looking plays you would have with players running into each other and bodies colliding and clapping and sliding. Like, you would have the same issues happening in those games. So the neat plays and replays that you pull up right now and say, oh, look how neat this is, you wouldn't have as many of those plays because of those real-time physics. It's shown in backbreakers. So.
And in addition to that, man, I think, me personally, that's where I want football games to go. So Joe Montana needs to have physics. Any football game at this point on, because when I play NHL, and as I speak to the Madden devs, I clearly see where Madden is going as far as physics. And, I'm pretty sure in Madden 16, I'm sure we'll see some type of difference in the physics. And speaking of that, let me say this real quick as we close the show. Go ahead.
Just for the future,
go ahead.
Just for the future, if you look, Roy McIlroy and them talking about sharing tech and all that kind of stuff in the future, if they can share tech and ball physics and hey, never mind. I'm passing back to Tim. We're gonna get on that another show.
Yeah, man. We try to give you tidbits, but I'll be real. We got 1 minute and 26 seconds. I'm shocked at you guys out there, and this is why. And I'm gonna preface this right now and let y'all know. Nobody asked about air supremacy that was on the back of that box. I'm surprised because I was all prepared to be like, hey, I can't talk about it. I'm surprised at you guys. Either you're respecting the fact that we can't talk, or y'all totally forgot. But let me say this before you even do it. Until EA comes out and they give information, we cannot say anything or speculate. And the reason why I don't speculate on anything like that, because obviously now it's April. We know what Madden 16 has to offer. Okay, the cat is out the bag, so to speak, and most of you guys already know that. So we're not going to speculate on anything. I'm not going to give an opinion on what that might mean. Nothing. Until they release their information, which we're expecting it to be in May, then we'll start talking. But I'm very shocked that you got nobody called, because that tweet was going around all over the place.
He saw it.
But, yeah, I'm very surprised, man. But, oh well, we wouldn't have been able to tell you anyway. So, on that note, we got 5 seconds left. We thank you guys. We love you guys for calling. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back next week. Peace.
Peace.
Once again, guys, thank you for tuning in. And if you want to interact with me live, come on by Sim Standard Radio every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, along with Smitty and Azure Effect. If you want to give us a call, you can reach us at 914-338-0794. Of course, for more content, go ahead and click the link above. All right? Until next time, lights out.